Hello, gotcha Bagoose. How we doing? Oh boy, I didn't feel as prepared this time around. Not gonna lie, I was having trouble finding the center of the stream subject, which was the Godzilla -1 picture that I started working on the lines for last time. I was like, where the heck did I actually save it? And I know, it sounds stupid, but it took me a hot minute, but I finally found it. So, hi, welcome Kaijin, and fans of silly stuff everywhere. I know this is probably the worst day ever to do any sort of boring thing like streaming art, because some video game thing, state of play, I guess, happening. People getting all gaga about games, of which I am a very, very casual gamer, so not exactly my bag. I mean, I've done a couple of Subnautica streams, and I enjoyed those very much, and someday I will enjoy doing other kinds of streams, but gaming isn't exactly my number one love, and I know for a lot of people it kind of is their bag. It is their big thing. So, you know, no shade, but I just kind of realized, yeah, this was not the best day to be doing this, but whatever. I must to stream. I must to do art because it's what I want to do. It's how I want to relax and chat about silly stuff. Hopefully, you know, in the process, make somebody smile. But it was a busy week. Yeah, I had hoped to do some streaming sooner, but it wasn't to be because just got busy. Life got in the way, and I didn't have some assets ready to go that I wanted to make. Yeah. But needless to say, I had mentioned that last weekend we went to a local con. We went to a convention, and it was cool. There was a lot of interesting people there. It was mostly a smorgasbord of actors from 20-year-old TV shows and 40-year-old, 40-year-old cartoon shows that everybody loves. It was a good spread of people. Like, honestly, some very iconic people if you're into the voice acting business or scene, if you're just a big fan of the voice acting pool like I am, or at least classic voice actors, like older school type of professional voice actors. I probably couldn't name a lot of currently active ones, but we had people there like Maurice LaMarche, who was the voice of Brain in Pinky and the Brain, and hey, good to see you, Aniki. My phone was being stupid, would not let me chat. I was going to say, okay. Hey, Smith, my man. Thank you guys for dropping in. I was a little worried I was talking to the ether here for a second, but no, the convention was awesome. It was wonderful. Like I said, Maurice LaMarche was there, the voice of Brain in Pinky and the Brain. He was Egon in the original real Ghostbusters cartoon. Just amazing talent. I didn't get to meet him. We were very limited in who we were able to see, the kind of budget we had for this one, but the main importance. Also, your category and title is still from last week. Shoot. Hold up. I thought I changed the... Oh, you are correct about the title. I thought I changed the... I thought I changed the category and time, but I guess I didn't. My bad. Oopsie. If you can't tell that the amateur is still learning his stuff. Oh, man. I don't suppose it's going to let me change that unless I close and reopen the stream, so I guess I'm screwed on that front, but thanks for letting me know. Like I said, I was a little scattershot getting ready for this one. Stego Man draws kaiju and stuff. Yeah, it's probably not going to take that. but oh well. My bad. I did at least go into the settings and should change it when you update an OBS. Okay, thank you. Because I did at least go into the settings and reduce the number of ads to the absolute minimum because I did not realize that I had control over that. And with everybody informing me last week during Subnautica just how absolutely obnoxious it was, I went in and I minimized the ads to whatever the bare bones minimum is that you can do on Twitch, which I think is like 30 seconds or a minute an hour, something like that. Just, who needs that? That's not going to endear me to anybody, so yeah. But no, Maurice LaMarche was there, all 4 of the original 80s Ninja Turtles voice actors, and Renee Jacobs, the voice of April O'Neil, was there. And she was the main draw for me, because I met the boys last, it was crazy, not gonna lie, yeah, like, I felt bad, like, I hated the idea that you guys were getting bombarded with ads, but obviously I wasn't conscious of it, just sitting here doing my thing, but I think it's improved. I think we're in a better place now with ads, at least I hope so. So if you get them, they're going to be short, and they're going to be way more and fewer and far between. But yeah, Renee Jacobs was there, April O'Neil, and 3 minutes per hour the viewers get pre-rolls. Okay, so maybe it's 3 minutes an hour. I'm glad you know more about it than I do. I am still in my baby pants when it comes to Twitch. But I got to meet all 4 of the Ninja Turtle boys last summer at a convention called All Monsters Attack. And that was an awesome day. That was an absolutely amazing day. But Renee Jacobs was not there, and April O'Neil was only my first crush, and you know, it'd be kind of nice to get to see her, and I figure complete the essentials of the Turtle team. So that was wonderful to meet her. I did not intend to make her and a table full of women cry, but somehow that happened. I won't go too deep into details on that, but I was just telling Miss Jacobs how much I appreciated her and loved the Turtles and her character, and I'm learning right there I don't stream enough. Oh, do you actually stream, Smith? Sorry, I wasn't aware. I'll have to actually check on your profile and see what you're up to. I'm assuming you do like gaming or something if I knew you, but no, she was so sweet, and it made me feel good as a rather short dinosaurian person to have one of my major favorites. Streaming over years, so if you need any advice, I appreciate it. Thank you. But needless to say, April was shorter than me, which is wonderful. Made me feel much better about myself under Smith Gaming. Got it. Good to know. Thank you. But she was super sweet. Like, she came out all the way out from behind her table. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and get rolling on the artwork, because I can yap and I can draw at the same time. You don't need to just keep looking at me. Just sitting here in my room. But Miss Jacobs was so nice. She came all the way out from around her table to give me a hug and take some really nice pictures, and it was delightful and wonderful, and she was just a big sweetheart. I wish we'd had the money to do all of the Turtle Boys again, and there were cast members from Firefly there. Alan Tudyk was supposed to be there, but he had some sort of a family emergency come up, so unfortunately he was not able to actually attend, which was a bummer, because I'm sure a lot of people would have been there to see Wash. You know, like, I've barely seen any Firefly. I don't know a ton about the franchise, but I can't remember her name, but the mechanic girl was there. Summer Glau, who was the superpowered girl on the team. I know she was there. Who else? So because all the turtles were there, that also meant that Rob Paulson was there, of course. So that meant that, you know, Rob Paulson was in everything in the 80s and 90s. So that automatically included Pinky. So you had Pinky and the Brain there at the same time. I used Facebook for a minute and have not streamed on Twitch. My streams have cut out when I try because of internet or too many items using internet. Yeah. Hooray for the trials of wireless. Someday we'll all be fiber. That'll be a wonderful day. But yeah, in a sense, it was also a sort of Pinky and the Brain reunion. And of course, if you're like me and one of your favorite movies of all time happens to be a Goofy movie, or I guess for those youngins that grew up with Jimmy Neutron, Rob Paulsen is, of course, also PJ from Goof Troop, man. Oh, Max, I'm so... I love Rob Paulsen. He's such a nut, and he's just fun and iconic as a voice actor. So it's just great to see them yap. See all the Turtle Boys and April on stage just reminiscing and yapping and digging into each other, and oh, it's delightful. I absolutely love. I could watch them all day. But yeah, we didn't get to see anybody else but April, but we did. I don't get to take Mrs. Stegman out as much as I would like to go on some nice little impromptu dates, so it was also nice to be able to just get her to a convention, get her on the floor, and do some nerdy shopping and check out a bunch of vendors. And I have never seen so many furries in one place in my life, which shows you how many actual conventions I get to, which is not very many, but there were a lot of furries. I'll have to go with you sometime. Well, honestly, the con seems... It was pretty good. The venue was very nice and pretty easy to get around, and yeah, I rather liked it. Lots of vendors. A lot of it was stuff that I didn't care about, of course, like, you know, they had a bajillion Funko Pops and fantasy weapons, you know, those giant oversized. Going to a dinosaur convention in July, so it'll be a fun weekend. Oh, interesting. What convention is that? Like specifically dinosaur? As in dinosaur media, or something more like, we are the Dinosaur Society of North America. Oh, that'd be kind of cool, actually, now that I think about it. That'd be neato. Though I would be thoroughly embarrassed at my general lack of knowledge. Dinacon in the UK. Oh! Yes, forgive me. I forgot you're one of our cousins from across the pond. But no, that sounds awesome. One of my dear friends is in the UK, and I'm happy to say is going to be joining us again this summer for Godzilla Fest in Chicago. Because unfortunately, with the cost of everything and airfare and whatnot, it's very difficult for him to get over here. But it's always a joy when he gets back to the States. And it's fun to catch up with him and nerd out. He's a dear lad, and I appreciate him dearly, and it's just always wonderful to get a chance to see him. I saw my cousins at the zoo last week. Well, if you enjoy being with your cousins, then that's a blessing. I don't really spend a lot of time with my extended family because they're just all over the blasted place. So there's that. But no, the con was wonderful. We didn't spend much time, but I enjoyed the whole day. Like I said, got a little bit too emotional, because here's the thing, like, I won't go into great detail on it because I don't want to be one of those streamers that therapy dumps every time I stream. But I will be a little transparent, because I think people like transparency when you're just honest. You can be a little honest about how you feel about things. But growing up, not those cousins. Growing up, just with the situation I had a very loving, supportive father, not so much on the maternal side of things, and something I realized about myself later in life was that due to that situation and some of the abuse, something I did as a result was I tended to gravitate a lot towards really nice, sweet, kindly, adorable, female figures in movies and animation and all that stuff. Somebody who I was like, yeah, this is a great character. This is somebody who I would love to be related to, have in my family, have a crush on, whatever the case was at whatever time in my life. And as it was, April O'Neil was my first crush in a fictional context, and just a character I really, really liked a lot. And that continued on with a lot of characters when I was growing up. I was just like, yeah, I like this female character. She's sweet. She's likable. She's whatever. Just that made me feel happy and secure. And I just realized that about myself at some point, and I told that to Miss Jacobs. I was like, yep, April was very special to me because abuse and blah, 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 and thank you for being part of my childhood and blah, 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 blah. And, you try to say this stuff and not be cringe, and you try to say it in the most, just sort of, hey, I know I'm never going to meet you again probably, and I just want to tell you something meaningful and just pay you a compliment. But I tell her this, and then next thing I know, Miss Jacobs is crying, and my wife is crying, and Miss Jacobs' handler is crying, and I'm just like, dang it, I did not intend this. And then I'm crying a little bit, squeezing out some man tears. They're like, dang it all, this is not what I intended, but okay, I'm very grateful that it's facilitated this little moment we could have, and just, the hug, and just a really nice photo, and whatever. Like, it was sweet. It was very, very cathartic, and it was very nice, and just made the trip absolutely wonderful. And I was very happy about that. I just felt kind of embarrassed at the spectacle I made of everything. So there's that. I'm a big gushy goober, and so maybe it was just inevitable. I don't know. But that's just the case, and that's what happened. But yeah, I'm happy to say that for the most part, after last week, things have been kind of slowly getting back on a better keel, getting back to a place where I wanted them to be. I'm getting back into a little bit of artwork, like the private artwork, and working on stuff that I've been trying to get to. Getting back to my custom figures and my clay creations a bit. And first thing I actually finished, thanks to the convention, I did a little Batman the Animated Series custom. I picked up a spare Man-Bat. It was just that huge mutant bat character, if you're not familiar with the show, but there were two versions of Man-Bat in the cartoon. There was the male version, who was in the original first pilot episode, and then in a later episode, the character's wife actually gets transformed into the She-Bat, I guess you'd call her. So I picked up a spare figure at the convention, and I actually customized it into the She-Bat, because the figure was cheap as all heck. So that was nice. It was just a simple little, like, 1-hour project, but it allowed me to get back into that swing and be like, hey, yeah, I love projects and customizing action figures and getting out of my funk and doing that kind of stuff. Yeah, it was nice. It was therapeutic, nerd therapy, as it were, because we all need a little nerd therapy from time to time. But yeah, that was awesome. I enjoyed that. May need to visit you sooner rather than later for nerd stuff. Yeah, I mean, honestly, just there's a lot of good ways to relax and to put your mind in a better space, but I just greatly enjoy diving back into a little bit of nerdery. Oops, I'm having a slight malfunction with my pen here. Hold on. It does my tablet pen does this thing once in a while where it decides to have a mind of its own and starts swinging the image around. It's a little obnoxious. What else was going on with that? So yeah, the convention was good. It's too dark. What else was going on? Mrs. Stegman and I did start watching Spider Noir, that Nicolas Cage multiverse Spider-Man show which the character had a comic book which I never read, but the character voiced by Nicolas Cage, of course, was in the Spider-Verse movie, the first one. I don't know about the second one. I haven't seen the second movie yet, but they decided to make a detective-style noir show about the character, and I was like, okay, I am intrigued. I love noir. I love 1940s and 50s and a little bit of 30s entertainment media and classic radio, especially, I'm a big fan of, and just, I was like, this has potential to be very, very interesting. And I was cautiously optimistic. Did you watch it in color or black and white? First round, we decided to go color because I heard that the color palette was gorgeous, and honestly, I just wanted to take it in that way so that then second time around I could watch it in black and white. And Mrs. Stegman was watching it with me, so color was kind of the best option because black and white can be a little hard to watch, like especially if you're not used to it and if you're not much of an old movie connoisseur, or if it's not something you really dig, or if you don't have the right eyeballs. Sometimes black and white can be a bit of a bear. So, and especially modern black and white, because they usually have to decolorize it, so it has a problem sometimes of making the black and white look muddy, and I didn't want to risk it being unenjoyable. So we watched it in color, and we're halfway through at this point because there's 8 episodes. We got through 4, and I absolutely love it. Like, I'm not a huge fan of, oh hey, here's a version of Batman, but it's, you know, it's the Mayan version from ancient days, and he's going around in a, you know, in Mayan garb with a stone hammer or whatever. Like, I don't like that kind of multiversal stuff for the most part. Not unless there's like a really good reason. And especially after the last few years, Marvel kind of made people a little sick of the multiverse stuff. But honestly, this show is what I do like about alternate takes and alternate versions of characters and what-if scenarios. Because Marvel did sort of popularize the what-if concept, because they had a whole comic book about it. It was like, hey, what if Aunt May was one of Galactus's heralds? Or, you know, I'm not making that up. That actually was a thing. But yeah, what if this, what if that? Just have fun with a concept. Like, I'm not against that, but sometimes they just feel really cheap and really weak. And so the whole thing was, would they do a good job with it? And as far as I'm concerned, they really nailed the show. Like, it feels genuinely noir, other than some use of language. Like, there's terminology, there's expressions that have been used that I'm heavily certain were not popular. Disney Plus has what if... Oh, that's true, they do. Yeah, I actually haven't seen those yet. It's on my extended to-do list because there's just too much to watch. Far, far too much to watch. But it is on my to-do list. But other than like some random, what I would probably call anachronisms, things that wouldn't have been a thing at the time, it's a pretty faithful and very intelligently written show. Like, as far as I know, people weren't calling people dumbasses in the 1930s. Hey, look, Shively, have you ever made a list, like on a streaming service, and honestly can tell me you've even gotten through half of it? I mean, come on, man. It's just a thing that happens. You get a build-up. And yes, someday I'm sure I will. I'll like break a leg or something, and I'll actually be stuck at home for a few weeks, and then I'll catch up on my shows. But as it stands right now, just, you know, we got other stuff we got to do, man. Severance is a cool, weird show as well to put on your list. I have heard things about it. I've heard people talk about they liked it. I just do not know a single thing about it. So that might work in my favor if it's something that you want to go in cold with. But no, I love Spider Noir so far. I will look forward one way or the other to adding it to my Blu-ray shelf. someday when that becomes a possibility. Sony, if you're smart, you will put it out on Blu-ray and not make us go the Jack Sparrow route for Blu-ray discs. But yeah, no, great show. Which it's nice that we're cooking on it because we just kind of can't get enough of it. Unlike some of the other shows, we start and then we kind of fizzle out on them. Like we started watching Dune Prophecy because Mrs. Stegman really likes Dune, and I like Dune well enough casually. Like, I think it's a really good franchise, but we started it and then we just kind of shoved it aside. And I hate it when we do that. It's frustrating, but it's not one person's fault over the other. It's just something we do. Excuse me. I got the burpees tonight for some reason. But blah, 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 blah. Yeah. But no, Spider Noir was awesome. Funny enough, I was a little hesitant about it at first when I heard that it was coming out, but from all of the voices online whose opinions I respect, I've actually heard wonderful things about Masters of the Universe. It's just, unfortunately, it's gonna bomb. Like, there's no two ways about it. It's already financially well behind. What is it? It's making less money than the finale of Amazing Digital Circus. And Obsession, that horror movie, and The Back Rooms. And there's something else that's just beating out Masters as well. But Masters of the Universe is off to a terrible start. And it's too bad because, oops, oh dear, my pen just freaked out. Excuse me. You weren't supposed to see that yet. Yeah, I'm having a bit of a problem with definitely having a problem with the tablet tonight. So if I hear the mystery character who wants to show up. Mystery character. I hear it tries taking itself too serious instead of embracing the campus. I've actually heard the opposite, Shively. I've heard that it fully embraces the cheese, and depending on what side of the aisle you're on, it either makes too much fun of itself or it does just enough. Because, let's all be honest, Masters of the Universe was never Shakespeare, and it never pretended to be, but I have heard that it actually has a very good balance of humor, and if you're in the right frame of mind for it, it's perfectly balanced between fun action and kind of the goofy comedy. But I'll decide for myself when I see it. I'm not a Masters of the Universe fan. It wasn't my franchise when I was growing up. He does show up. I'm lost, but it's okay. If anything, it just means I'll avoid spoilers, I guess. But yeah, like, I actually do want to see He-Man, and it would be fun to take my brother to, because he is a very big Masters of the Universe and She-Ra fan, but I will be surprised if we get a sequel unless Papa Bezos just decides to throw a whole bunch more Amazon money on it, because let's be honest, it's produced by Amazon and MGM, which Amazon now owns, so even if it bombs, they're not going to be hurting over it. Amazon's not going to suffer if Masters of the Universe bombs, but it might make them be like, if it's not going to make us big money, or if it's not going to make a splash, maybe we won't put a whole bunch into a sequel, or we might just not bother with a sequel. Though it's hard to say, because Amazon surprisingly throws a lot of money at things that actually do not make any money and have very divisive opinion about them, such as Rings of Power. Rings of Power is not a popular show. It is not particularly well liked, but Amazon has continued to pump a lot of money into it, and they seem devoted to carrying it through to the end of their 5-season plan that they said they had, which, good for them, whatever. I don't watch it. I do not like what they did with Middle-earth. Middle-earth is too precious to me. I just do not like the direction they went with it. But I guess, yeah, technically if they just... He-Man could do absolutely horrible in theaters. But, man, maybe they'd still decide to do something, and maybe they still would follow up and make a sequel. I mean, if it's as good as some of the people are saying it is, I hope they do, and keep up the fun and the quality of it, because that'd be nice. But as it stands, unfortunately, our boy Prince Adam is not, for the second time in history, not faring too well at the American box office. Let's see, what else did we have going on? Because the thing is, I've gotten to that point in my life where I'm like, okay, cool, new movies are coming out, whatever. I'll watch them at my leisure. What's something that I'm excited about that I really want to watch? And I was very happy this last week that I succeeded in tracking down some elusive Japanese movies and some subtitle files for them that I've wanted to see forever, and that makes me glad and got me really excited for the weekend so I could just hopefully take some time and enjoy them, because that's kind of my favorite treasure hunting area to snoop around in, is trying to find just really quality old Japanese media, because that's just me, that's my bag. But let's see, Street Fighter. Oh, dude, Street Fighter I am absolutely looking forward to, because again, it just feels like they are embracing the silly, and that is what Street Fighter should be, is embracing the silly. Because let's be honest, the original movie isn't renowned because it had a particularly deep plot. It is renowned because it had some decent action scenes, and Jean-Claude Van Damme and Raul Julia eating the hell out of the scenery, and I loved it for that. I still occasionally, Minty and I will still occasionally quote back the "it was Tuesday" line, or whatever one comes to mind for us. So yes, absolutely curious to see what they do with Street Fighter, because again, it looks like they actually are just trying to have fun with it and make it like how it was, which Street Fighter's never been deep. It's just, can't wait to see the bonus breaking the car. Yeah, I saw people breaking down the trailer who are a lot more deep Street Fighter fans than I am. Like, I'll be honest, the Street Fighter game I have actually played the most was 6, because I didn't really have a chance to play a lot of games when I was growing up as a kid, and fighting games were not exactly on the parental agenda, let's just put it that way. So having that opportunity just to finally be like, hey, it's a modern Street Fighter game, I can customize my own character, and I just had a lot of fun with 6. So yeah, I'm excited to see what they do with that. There we go. Okay, sorry, just getting my tablet situated again. It's an older tablet, and I think it's a lot of folks pissed off about Sagat not being in it. Was never a favorite of mine, so I'm not too worried with it. Oh yeah, Sagat, because my gosh, the cast is huge. Like, I'm actually impressed, and I give them credit for how big the cast is, because it would have been really easy to do what they do in other similar games, which is like, we'll have a core group of characters, and then maybe we'll throw in a few cameos and some extras, but we're not going to spend the money to throw in too many, or whatever, or we can't justify them in the script, so we don't want to spend the time on them, or whatever the excuse is. And I'm just like, no, man, come on, like, a little fan service is okay. Give the people what they want, man. And let's be honest, I'll be honest, not every video game that throws in a little fan service or tries to appeal to its core audience does succeed. Because I don't know how many people within the sound of my voice have ever watched It's All WWE Wrestlers other than Momoa. I mean, if they look the part and they can at least act enough, that's at least something. But I don't know how many people within the sound of my voice remember back in the mid-2000s, but they made a Dead or Alive game, or movie, rather. They made a Dead or Alive movie, and an effort was made. There were hot women who looked like the characters to most degrees, and they tried to be very entertaining, but it wasn't exactly good. It was just really hyper cheesy. Massive guy who plays Zangief looks great. He was in Reacher and made Alan Richardson look small. Yeah, the Zangief guy is nuts. They showed a video of him, I think it was in Japan, doing some grocery shopping. He was somewhere doing some grocery shopping with let's say a smaller population of people, a naturally shorter population. And he just looked like frickin' Goliath. He's just standing there with all these diminutive human beings around him. And I was like, hoo-hoo, they found the one giant dude who could act well enough to actually perfectly fit the character. You know, good for them. Because, my gosh, that had to be rough on the casting director. Just like, okay, what are our options? They are going to be few. And, you know, they didn't cheese it and make him CG or something stupid. They actually found a real human being. So, all the props to them for that. Yeah, Shaq had to do all of his own stunts in steel because they actually couldn't find an actor to friggin' sub for him. But recently there was there was the recent Mortal Kombat movie as well, and they got a beast of a guy to play Shao Kahn as well, and that was just great. Like, they didn't have to augment him, they didn't have to CGI him up. He was just a big ass, like, I think he's Aussie, maybe British, but just big old dude. And he looked good, and he didn't have to show his face, really. So they could just do most of the acting through voiceover, and, you know, just somewhere out there in the world, there is always the right person you need to look the part, which is something I wish other studios would remember more often. It's like, you know, you could have tried a little harder there. But no, we are actually getting some good stuff. This is probably one of the years I have been to the American movie theater the least, to be honest. And a large part of that is just money, one, because it's too expensive going to the theater now. But second, I just haven't cared as much. Like, I'm like, they're not giving me enough that I really want to go out of my way for. But there's actually stuff coming up that looks fun, and I wouldn't mind going to see if I can. So it is. It's nice. It's nice to have something. Get over here. It's nice to have things to look forward to. Because Spider-Man's still coming out later on. Dune 3. The aforementioned Street Fighter. Godzilla Minus Zero is coming out at the end of the year. Last movie I saw in theater was live action How to Train Your Dragon. Yeah, that was a hot minute ago. What was that, at the beginning of the year? Like, late last year? Something like that. It was a slight minute ago, yeah. I know I'm forgetting something. Because, yeah, it's like... Because Mandalorian and Grogu just bombed, and it's like, yeah, I wasn't interested in going all the way to a theater for that. It's going to be on Disney Plus in no time anyway, so I'm just like, I'll live. I can wait. Avengers Doomsday. Yeah, that's coming out. Which, you know, I hope they do okay with it. My relationship with Marvel is... we stopped dating seriously a little while ago, but I do hope that it at least is good. Let's see. I did see a little bit of the gaming announcements that they had here this afternoon. Still mad at Burger King for screwing. Yeah, so that was actually funny. I'm gonna relate that story if you don't mind. So, my compatriot, Mr. Shively down there, he was door dashing some Burger King, And I was just like, why are you door dashing Burger King? He's like, well, I'm getting a Mandalorian cup. I was like, oh, okay. Promo cup, you know, I used to do that kind of thing. I used to go to restaurants specifically, buy kids' meals, do whatever, specifically so I could collect a cup or a toy line. Because, like, the last major Happy Meal toy line I ever collected was Lord of the Rings. I was absolutely adamant about that. Still have those. But he ordered the Mandalorian cup, and his food shows up, and he's like, wait a minute. There's no cup. What the heck? And there was a little note attached to the bag from either the manager or whoever it was that prepared the order. It's like, sorry, we have run out of Mandalorian cups. Please have a slice of pie. And he was understandably pissed. I don't blame him, because I don't think a piece of pie equals the cost of a big plastic cup, unless I'm mistaken. But I was just laughing my ass off. I was like, those dirty buggers. They screwed him out of his Mando cup. Out of cups. So, yeah. It is deeply unfortunate, and I feel bad for Mr. Shively, but hopefully someday we can rectify that situation. Because it's kind of the same thing for going to movie theaters and trying to get those novelty popcorn buckets or whatever. They run out of those all the time as well, and I know that bothers people. Because I think the He-Man movie had a, what was it, like I think they said it was like a sippy version of the Eternia sword, like the sword that He-Man and Skeletor split and use. So, yeah, there's just nothing you can do sometimes. The population goes hog wild and decides that they want to just, probably the scalpers. I'm going to blame the scalpers for it, to be honest. They probably just went, raided all the cups and all the theater premiums and just turned them around on eBay for a quick hot profit, like all the stupid Pokemon people. Sorry, I cannot ever see any of them seriously after the Dune one looks so wrong. Oh, you mean the Forbidden Shai Halud? Yeah. Mrs. Stegman still wants that someday. I will buy it for her someday if I can ever find it at a deal, just for the silly novelty of it. But yeah, when it came out and people realized what a meme that popcorn bucket was, it immediately started getting scalped and was on eBay for like $200 or some nonsense like that. So, needless to say, that wasn't going to be on the to-do list for anniversary gifts. I'm sure somebody out there is just like, it would be if you really loved her. I'm like, yeah, well, there's love, and then there's, sorry, popcorn buckets for $200 is not exactly on this month's budget. Ugh. But, no, it's just, it gets pretty funny. I do enjoy the ridiculous lengths. Like, it's clearly a joke at this point. Like, some of the popcorn buckets are made to be jokes, and I do appreciate that. But it also means that when they become memes, that it's annoying, because then suddenly you can't actually get them. Whatever. Supply and demand and stupid online trends, and that's the way that things go. Speaking of theatrical movies, though, I did have it confirmed this morning, unfortunately, that I won't be bothering actually going to any of the movies being featured at Godzilla Fest at the local theater that they rent out every year. Because that is one thing that it's kind of a tradition for me and my brother. Every year we go to Godzilla Fest, we always go to, it's called the Pickwick Theater. It's sort of a historic, ancient theater that's there in a little small kind of business area around O'Hare. And it's a beautiful theater. Like, it's got an incredible ceiling, like that really ornate wallpaper, just super tall carved pillars in the social media notice. Yeah. But just the carved pillars and the beautiful old school wallpaper, and it's so nice. And so we've made a tradition every year of going and watching whatever kaiju movie that they show at the theater every year. But this year I was just kind of like, well, if they don't really have anything that I want to see very badly, I might just skip it or something I haven't seen, because that's my big thing, is I want to see every Godzilla movie on the big screen, and sometimes you get a fun little side, a kaiju side movie that's also fun that I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing this on the big screen, especially if it's something that I missed because I either wasn't alive or just wasn't something I was able to go see at the time. But I looked over the roster and I was not impressed this year with the lineup or it's stuff that I've already seen. So it's like, well, what's the point? I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of money if I don't have to. So we just kind of decided we're going to skip it, because like there are 2 movies I haven't seen, but one of them I just don't care about, and the other one is going to be playing at the theater on the Sunday of the convention during the time when we would actually be driving back home. So I just decided we're not going to bother this year, because the 2 movies that they are showing I don't care about was one's called Rebirth of Mothra. It was a 1996 Mothra film where she's having her own adventures and fighting monsters without Godzilla being involved whatsoever. They're fun little movies, but nothing I'm too concerned about going to a theater and paying $20 a person or whatever it is to get in. And then the other one, interestingly enough, I'm guessing because it's the movie's 50th anniversary, is the 1976 King Kong film starring Jeff Bridges. And I am not a big fan of that movie. Like, I don't hate Kong by any means, but I just was never a big fan of that particular version of Kong. It just wasn't very special to me, and at times I just thought it was weird. Some of the choices they decided to make with it, especially in the dialogue. If you know, you know. But, yeah, I wasn't all that enthused, so I was just like, nah, I'm good. We can skip it this time. And that's fine. That'll save us a little money. Same thing with the autographs this year as well. Like, there's really nobody showing up that I'm overly concerned about going to see, with maybe one exception. So there was... I'm trying to find the cast. Hold on a sec. Blah, 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 blah. Where is he? No, not Philip Tang. Bruno Yoshi, Phil. So, oh, there we go. So, one of the guests that they're having at G-Fest this year is an actor named Keon Young. And I think I've probably talked about this before, but he was, for the sake of anybody new, or who didn't hear me ramble about it the last time, Keon Young is primarily a voice actor, and he was the voice of Storm Shadow in the original G.I. Joe. Hey, Coke! Good to see you. Thank you for dropping in. I appreciate it very much, especially since I know this was kind of a big day online for the gamersphere, so anybody giving me any consideration, I appreciate, believe me. But no, Keon Young was the voice of Storm Shadow in the original G.I. Joe, and he also happened to be a small part in one of Mrs. Stegman's favorite movies, which is Surf Ninjas. He was in Surf Ninjas as Baba Ram, which Surf Ninjas is amazing. It's just such a goofy, perfect piece of 90s cheese, and I adore it. But not as much as her. But yeah, we might actually have Mr. Young sign our copy of Surf Ninjas, because that just feels like an absolute necessity, to be perfectly honest. But honestly, I think he's probably the only person I'm going to bother potentially seeing at G-Fest as well, because just I'm not really all that excited this year about the guest roster or meeting any of the celebs or whatever. Just, for me, this year just feels honestly more about meeting up with friends and showing off my new costume and just chilling. Like, it was it was a rough year. It's been a rough year for a lot of people, and just kind of almost more than ever this year, other than, I guess, the first year G-Fest was back from COVID. It just feels like we really just need a year to relax and just be happy with our friends. And not be, in this case, for me, not as concerned. I'm really hoping they announce more guests later on. I kind of hope so too, because, like, no disrespect to the gentleman from Ultraman. Like, I know that's a very big catch, and I'm very happy for the Ultraman fans, but Ultraman's not my thing. It's not my jam. Like, there are a couple of Ultraman shows I like, and I have them in my collection, and I enjoy them, but I'm not a big fan, and I don't know this actor. I don't know his characters. Or character, I guess. I think he was a recurring character in a bunch of different series. And again, that's really cool, and I'm really happy for the fans. Because I know we do have a lot of Ultraman diehards that do attend G-Fest, and I'm very happy for them, but I am just not one of them. So I'm not going to spend $60, $80 to meet an Ultraman guy that I don't have much attachment to. And that's just the way it is. Because it's different, of course, with Mr. Bin Furuya. He's been a G-Fest guest several times, and he was the original Ultraman. And he was also some Godzilla monsters as well, and he was just such a great guy. It's absolutely vital to just say hi to some legends. In my opinion, it's like you'll never get this chance again, especially if they're foreign guests. Jimmy Walker is at OmahaCon. Ah, wow. Jimmy Walker. There's a name you don't hear every day anymore. Very happy to have been able to get Bin's autograph last year. Bin is such a sweet man. Like, last year at the convention, I was just sitting in the lobby area, like we always do, because we're silly loiterers and we like to wait around for people. And I was just sitting there with black and white, duh. I was sitting there with my sketch tablet, and I think I was sketching a -1 picture, and Furuya showed up, and he registered, and then he just walked, he just happened to notice me, and he just walked over, and he was just a big sweetheart, and in his absolute best English, he's like, "Oh, very good, very, very good." I was like, "Aw, such a sweet man. I love you. You're awesome." And I had met him before, and I don't think he remembered me because obviously I'm one white guy in a sea of the white people. I mean, I'm a green-skinned stegosaur, and maybe he did remember me. I mean, after all, I do kind of stand out in a crowd. But, when I put on my human skin, I just look like anybody else, essentially. So I wouldn't expect him to remember me, but either way, he was such a sweetheart, and most of the Japanese guests just are. They're just such wonderful, kind, giving people, and that's part of what makes the experience so fun, they're just nice, they're generous, they're very giving of their energy and their time, and that's also why I like the voice actors that we have met this last weekend included, because they don't come with hubris most of the time. They don't come with arrogance or being stuck up or whatever the case. They're just sweet people, and in a lot of cases they acknowledge the fact, like, yeah, we aren't going to treat you like garbage because we understand that without you we don't have careers. And a lot of celebrities don't think that way. I'm not saying like, oh, I'm so special, I made somebody's career because I bought one of their movies or whatever, but it's just nice when they treat you with that kindness and that consideration, and it just makes you feel a little special, and that's appreciated. It is. It's a nice gesture, and it's part of what I've always liked about Godzilla Fest and any of the smaller conventions I've ever been to. It's just like, yeah, these feel more like human beings and not like these puffed up celebrity characters. So that's part of what I love about the experience. Alright. So I don't think I'm gonna spend forever on this guy. I might actually... Are there any actors, voice actors you would like to meet? Oh, I mean, that list is long, whether you're talking kaiju or voice actor or whatever. And unfortunately, the time has passed at this point for me to be able to meet some of them because they are no longer with this mortal coil. Because in the kaiju realm, to start with some of the people I would have loved to have met had they lived, well, some of them are still alive, but I know I'll never meet them because they've pretty much made it clear that they don't intend to ever come to any more conventions. Certainly not ones in the States where they would have to travel, but Kumi Mizuno was a big one. Like, she is one of the top ladies of kaiju, and it would have been a joy to get the chance to meet her because I've met so many wonderful people from the Showa era, from the 60s and the 70s. Kenji Sahara, Haruo Nakajima, Takarada, rest in peace to two of them. But Kumi Mizuno would have been an amazing grab. Have a great night. I'm off. Want to stop in and get you some view time. Thank you, Shively. I appreciate you. Thanks for popping in and letting me share your story. Not being a crazy fan of being human too. Yes, agreed. What was I saying? Oh yeah, Kumi Mizuno. She was such an iconic figure in the Showa era, and freaking adorable as hell. Heck. Sadly, he has passed on from the mortal coil. But what was his name? Akira. Oh, I'm struggling on his name. The guy that played... Oh, brother. Hi, sweetie. Thank you. The gentleman that played General Aso in the Heisei era, he was one I would have loved to have met. And no, I said Aso, not a bad word, Twitch. But I liked that actor a lot. It would have been nice to meet him, but sadly he passed away 2 or 3 years ago, I think it was. So I won't get the chance on that one. Excuse me. There's a gentleman by the name of Akira Imoto, who I would love to get the chance to meet. He is still alive. He was in Shin Godzilla, Space Godzilla, and some of the Tora-san movies, and I've gone on ad nauseum about how much I love the Tora-san series, but he's just a really fun actor, and I like watching him whenever he comes up, which I'm happy to say has been a lot more lately. I'm going to quickly do some fading here. Voice actors, again, sadly, I will never get the chance now. But I would have loved the chance to actually meet Kevin Conroy, the Batman voice from the 90s, because he was just iconic and legendary. He is the voice of Batman in my head when I read the comics, and it would have been wonderful to meet him, but unfortunately he died of cancer a few years ago now. The best I got was I actually commissioned a cameo off of him a few years ago for my older brother. And I was very happy that I did because Mr. Conroy was very sweet and he gave my brother an amazing cameo. Like, it was 6 minutes long. Like, if you've ever cameoed a celebrity, sometimes you're lucky if you get 30 seconds. Conroy gave my brother 6 minutes. He gave him 6 minutes of very generous, sweet, just pep talk, encouragement, good thoughts, advice, and he didn't need to do that, but he absolutely killed it, and I was very, very happy about that. But other voice actors I'd like to meet, there's a guy named Chris Sabat who would be kind of fun. I think most people know him as the voice of Piccolo in Dragon Ball. That's not what I mainly know him from because I've never really watched Dragon Ball Z. For me, he was an anime voice actor in some other things I enjoyed, particularly a sci-fi series called Salty Ray. But he's been in a lot of stuff. I like him. I love Chris Sabat. He was Vegeta. Oh, was he Vegeta? Holy shit. I did not know that. Again, I've barely watched any of the Dragon Ball universe, so I was unaware. But no, that's awesome. I like his voice. I wouldn't mind meeting him. I gotta think. I'll sadly never get the chance to meet Peter Renaday. He was the voice of Master Splinter in the 80s cartoon. Unfortunately, he has also passed on as of a couple years ago. And funny thing about the original Master Splinter, if anybody was unaware of it, but for anybody here who loved the original Robin Williams Jumanji movie from the 1990s, little known fact, even from me, because I didn't realize it until years later, but there's a scene in the original Jumanji when Robin Williams' character first comes back to the normal world out of the video game, and he's all bearded up and hairy and whatever, and he runs off to the shoe factory, I think it was, that his dad owned. He's trying to find his dad, and he's trying to figure out what happened in the real world and whatever. And there's this homeless guy in the shoe factory that's living there, and Robin Williams shows up, and he's like, "What happened here?" The homeless guy was Peter Renaday, Master Splinter. And when I went back and was watching the movie again and listening to the voice, like, oh man, I can hear it. I can totally hear Master Splinter now that I'm actually paying attention. But no, sadly, I'll never get the chance to meet Peter Renaday, nor James Avery, who was the original voice of the Shredder. He was Uncle Phil in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He passed away a long time ago, sadly. But ones that are actually alive, because it's weird to see voice actors get random roles like that in movies. Yeah, I know. And they get overlooked so often because, like, a lot of times Hollywood just does not give a shit about voice actors. They treat them like second-class citizens. They treat a lot of people who aren't just in the industry, like foreign actors and whatever. They just treat them like second-class citizens, and it's such a shame because they are also incredibly talented people, just not in the same ballpark sometimes, but they're also good actors. So it's just satisfying when you get those moments where it's like, hey, there was a voice actor that, man, somebody who's primarily known as a voice actor, right? But they get a chance to shine in something that's outside of the voice acting wheelhouse. Because, like, people like Mark Hamill, and primarily, overall, he's a voice actor. That's what more, I think, of his career has been, rather than on screen roles, because... Oh, Casey Kasem, yes! Casey Kasem was kind of amazing. Because, yeah, like, most of my parents' generation knew him as a DJ, but then, yeah, you got people that would primarily know him as Shaggy. And what a lot of people don't know about Casey Kasem was that he was also a stand-up comic. Like, he actually did a lot of just normal stand-up comedy as well. And one of the funniest things I've ever seen was a set that he did for the old Dean Martin roasts. And he literally went on stage as Adolf, and he had a little mustache, and he was roasting the guest of honor that night and just doing the whole voice, and he was doing ads. At least the ads won't take too long, I guess. But yeah, no, Casey Kasem was awesome. I shall doodly doodles until the ads are done here. Sorry, folks. Shaggy and Speed Buggy. Speed Buggy is not a name I recognize, so I'm guessing that's a different Hanna-Barbera property that I'm not as well versed in. But yeah, no, Casey Kasem was awesome. Underappreciated for the body of work he actually did. Not to mention, he was a very, very funny DJ and comic. Just like his comic work was great. But honestly, I'm just trying to think, because I've met a decent number of voice actors, like not a whole bunch, but I just, when you're on the spot and you're actually trying to think of stuff you love and you would love to, Paul Williams would be one. So Paul Williams is an interesting one because he wasn't primarily known once upon a time as a voice actor, but he did a lot of cartoons in the 90s, but primarily he was known as a musician. He wrote songs like Old Fashioned Love Song and a bunch of stuff for the Muppets, including Rainbow Connection and some different stuff. But he was the Penguin in Batman the Animated Series, and he did The Tick and some other random stuff in the 90s. And he was just awesome. I love Paul Williams, and he is still alive, but I would be very surprised if I ever had the opportunity to meet him. Kind of a double whammy for voice actors that I would love to meet as well would be Sean Astin, because at that point not only do you get Samwise from Lord of the Rings, but he's actually also my favorite Raphael, because he got to be Raph in the 2012 animated series, and color me astonished that one of the Hobbits actually ended up being an incredible Ninja Turtle, but he actually was. He was a perfect Raphael, because he knew how to balance the anger and the soft side of Raphael, like to a T. Like he was magnificent at it. So yeah, off the top of my head, that's all I can really think of, but it is fun to imagine. The 2012 series was the most TMNT I ever got into. I remember watching it when it was coming out. Understandable, given your age. And it was a good show. Like, I went in thinking it was going to be kind of crap because I didn't like the look of the CG, and just they made April so young, and I was like, this is going to be kind of nonsense, and I'm not going to be able to get into it. But by the end, it was, I mean, even before the end, but especially at the end, I was really shocked how strong it was. Like, actually really well written and took itself seriously, and great voice acting, interesting takes on characters. I loved that show. My favorite is still the 2003 series, but that's just because it kind of balanced the turtle world the best, in my opinion. Secrets of Use Vanilla Ice. Oh man, I wish I could meet Vanilla Ice. I wish I could meet Mr. Van Winkle. That would be glorious. Especially since he's such a huge fanboy of the Turtles himself. I just watched a little bit of the 2003 series when I was super young, but still my favorite Shredder. Yeah, no, I love that Shredder. I am happy that I at least got to meet a Shredder, because I've been showing my age this whole time. Look, man. We're both dinosaurs. I'm just the one who looks like one. And it's okay. There's nothing wrong with being a dinosaur. It just means you know things. And you can tell kids about cool things. But, I'm having a thought, Barbosa. I had a thought on the edge of my brain and I just lost it. No. It would be a delight to meet more people, but you can't meet everybody. And I'm very, very grateful to the fact that G-Fest is in the Midwest, and it has allowed me to meet everybody that I have, because I never believed. One of the Shredders, thank you. Yes, I did get to meet one Shredder last year. It was the physical actor of Shredder from the 1990 movie last year at All Monsters Attack. He didn't do the voice of Shredder in that movie because they dubbed him over, but I did get to meet, his name is James Saito. he was the physical Shredder for the first movie, and it was nice meeting him. He was a little stuffy. I think he was just kind of old man Japanese, but he was still nice. I just think he was kind of, how do I put it? I think he was just kind of showing himself to be a little bit of a different time in how he interacts with his fans, which is like you be very stoic and you don't show a lot of emotion. So I didn't take it personal. I just was like, okay, he's a very serious Japanese dude. Like, he's not going to be all gushy, and he's certainly not going to cry. So, and that's okay. But it was nice. It was nice to meet him. I at least can say I've met one Shredder. As far as the upcoming fest goes, I am at least happy to say that I am 92% or 98% done, if I'm just going to throw an arbitrary number out. 98% done with my cosplay. I got all of the little kanji written on the body that I needed to be suit accurate, because the costume is literally covered in little bits of writing in kanji. The only thing I actually have left to do is I have to attach the backpack. And I'm like, oh no, how am I going to do this? Like, it's just made of cardboard and cloth. But even then, the backpack is surprisingly heavy. So this weekend is going to be, to a large degree, me figuring out how to get that backpack attached. Which, it's got to be done. And I will... It's not going to be a super heavy suit, I don't think. It's going to be hot, but all cosplay are warm. But I think once I get the suit, or once I get the backpack on, we'll be good to go. I'm very close. So it'll be done in time. I was getting a little worried there for a hot minute, but it will actually be completed on time. So much was happening this last month, and especially the last couple of weeks, but just got to get that backpack slapped on. And then somehow, miraculously, this will be the year that somebody else actually comes as that incredibly obscure character that I've never seen anybody wear a costume for. But hey, that would just be my luck. Because that has happened before. I went as a character named Zone Fighter one year, and was genuinely surprised to see a very young child also go as the character. I was like, wow, I thought this was way too niche of a character for somebody this young to go as. After my one cosplay, I realized the pain of wearing a wig for extended periods. I can only imagine how that costume would go. So, the worst costume I ever wore, hands down, as far as the hardest to wear, the most suffering, I guess you could call it, by far, was the Godzilla 2000 suit that I took one year. That suit, it looked okay, like it wasn't a bad looking suit, but it was horribly engineered. Like, it was far too heavy, far too claustrophobic. It was incredibly hot. And I got to about the 3/4 mark, walking the line on the parade route, and I could just feel myself starting to get overwhelmed and drift in, and like a little bit drift out of consciousness, because I was just so hot and sweating so much that I was just getting actually drowsy. And apparently it was bad enough that one of the costume handlers rushed up to me and was just like, dude, you doing alright? And I couldn't talk, so I shook the top of the costume to shake the head no, and he was just like, yeah, that's what I thought, we'll help you to the door. And they were very sweet, and they helped me, but unfortunately, because of me and one other person, that we brought costumes that were far too heavy and far too debilitating for the human body to really comfortably wear. They said they were changing some of the rules after that year, and they just basically said, if you're not confident that you can wear a suit well, and if you don't think that it's going to be safe, then they just recommended that you not. And I felt kind of silly and kind of bad about that because I was like, dang it, I didn't mean to have this become a thing. I didn't mean to contribute to spoiling anybody's fun. But unfortunately, sometimes costumes don't work. And you just don't realize it until you've tried to wear it and actually, show it in the proper parade or the proper costume show or whatever. Like, you underestimate it. Winnie the Pooh at Hy-Vee. That's an interesting story I've never heard. How did you manage to get wrangled into being Winnie the Pooh? That's a fascinating one. Alright, I look forward to that. But, no, that G2000 suit was rough. And taught me a lot that year about the benefit of making sure that you're really set and you're really good to go on a costume. And not just throwing caution to the wind and being reckless, because it's not a good idea to just assume that you're invincible and that a suit won't bother you, because it is summertime and they are hot and things can go wrong and you can pass out. Like professional suit actors pass out. I don't think I'll ever attempt a Toku cosplay unless my IRL friends convince me to do a Guyver suit. Honestly, I think you could probably do a pretty rad Guyver suit. Oh! Speaking of cosplay that would be up your alley, at the convention, our local convention last week, I saw a 90s Vash the Stampede. I was just walking the halls. I was trying to find the main Q&A hall where they were going to have the turtles, and suddenly this very tall and very obviously 90s version of Vash suddenly walked down the hall and he was asking me for directions. I was like, alright. And the costume was great. Like, the wig was when they had the video store way back. Oh, interesting. Alright. But yeah, he had the classic Vash tall hair and the perfectly accurate 90s Vash trench coat, and it was good. It was a good cosplay. It's awesome to see there's always been... Yeah. No, like, I think Trigun has maintained a pretty healthy fan base, and probably more so now that there's new media for it as well. Like, I haven't been able to watch any of the new Trigun, but I have noticed that they continue to be a thing. So that is awesome. Alright. I think I've done just about all I can on this piece, to be perfectly honest. I'm a little... I'm not happy with these bubbles. I might have to... Whoops. Nope, that's not what I meant to do. I might have to mush them out and do a second go before I call it quits, but... Nah, just lots and lots and lots of interesting cosplay. And I definitely know what I would like to attempt for next year, if possible, because my intention with kaiju costumes and most costumes in general is I always like to try and do something that is not typical, not expected, or very underutilized. Because as far as I'm aware, the year that I went to G-Fest dressed as Monster X from Final Wars, I think I was the first person who had ever bothered to go as that character. And that was kind of the point. I wanted to go as a monster that wasn't so typical and so readily... dang it. So typical, so usually done. Because, you know, bless the kids, but the kids are always going to typically go as a Godzilla or one of the more popular monsters or whatever. Like, it's understandable. That's what they want to do. They want to go as their favorites. But the farther along I went with cosplay, the more I just was like, yeah, I want to do unique stuff. I want to do characters that are not expected or not as average. So that's why I did a Ghost Godzilla, which was just literally a walking skeleton, or I did Monster X because he was a little underrepresented at the time in cosplay or whatever, things of that nature. Oh, I went as Mamagon one year. That's a deep cut for anybody that actually knows. So no, it's a lot of fun to try and do more obscure characters, because it's more satisfying when you get that one person that's like, oh, I know what you're doing. They're like, dude, I've been waiting for somebody to do that character. It's nice. It's satisfying. Yeah, the costume's almost done. I've been wanting to, since things have calmed down since a couple weeks ago, I have been wanting to also get back into regular artwork and my comic work and all that stuff, but it's been a little difficult. That's kind of why I did Subnautica for a couple of weeks, because honestly, I just did not feel, I wasn't feeling the artwork. Like, I've been doing a little bit of line art on some things, but I just wasn't feeling the comics. I just wasn't in the right spirit and right headspace I needed to be again to really dive back in to comic books and working on my stories and whatnot. But I think we're getting back into the swing. I think that time is just about on us, because I got some things that are important to me, some things I want to work on. It means I gotta make the effort, gotta make the time. See a little shadow on here. There we go. That's a little better. A little bit of the... Yeah. I need a canvas that I can slap with a brush. I need to go Bob Dylan style on this. Bob Dylan? Bob Ross. Oh my gosh, that is the second time I have done that. Bob Dylan painting, yeah. Oh my. I don't know what's wrong with my brain sometimes. Oh right, it's old and smooth and rotting. That's wrong. That's what's wrong with my brain. My gosh. There's no hope for me. But anywho, it's also a little toasty. Yeah, that's true. My brain is kind of melting out of one ear. Brain is boiling, I suppose. Doesn't help does not help with the gamer headphones on either. These things are roasty. I'm gonna do one warming up here too. Yeah, I got a free comic and bought one for $2. Oh, interesting. What did you get? That's what I want to know. Did you get something that was worthwhile, or did they throw you one of those freebies which may or may not be of any quality? Just like, we got these extra. But no, I feel about ready to dive back in on the comic art, and I think that's for the best, because I've really finally begun to miss it. Like, I took a break from comic art for a while after I got done with Sako. I just needed it, but I think it's time. And now that some of the more dramatic and emotional things are done with, I think we're ready. Just a little toasty. Just a little toasty. Our brains are getting toasty. There we go. But, oh, excuse me. I did get started on some clay figures again, because but it's one of two things I'll be juggling at any one time. I'm either always doing comic book art to some degree, or I'm always doing clay crafting or custom figures or stuff like that. So we're getting back into the swing on those, and I'm very happy about that. And I did actually get started on some new clay figures for some side Toho projects and some Godzilla the Series characters. Freebie, but also bought one that was good. Optimus dies. When doesn't Optimus die? That poor man has been nuked more times than is ever fair. Like, I don't think there's a single movie franchise, animated series, comic book, or anything where poor Optimus hasn't bitten the dust. Why do they keep killing my boy? Look what they've done to my boy. Why have they done this to my boy? Speaking of Optimus, do you plan on seeing the theatrical rerun of the '86 Transformers movie? I was unaware that they were actually reviving that in theaters, so thank you for telling me, but I will be very surprised if we're able to make the time. It always comes down to, will the local theaters show it? 1. 2, how long of a drive? And 3, how much devotion do I have to the movie that I really want to drive an extra amount of time to go see it on the big screen, if I've already seen it or I already own it. And I do own Transformers the movie. So, it's hard because that one would be fun. Just classic, awesome animation and the soundtrack and getting to see it on the big screen. It would be cool. It's just all going to depend on how near, I think. Because, man, it would be awesome to listen to Stan Bush on the big screen speakers and just dare, and you've got the touch on the sound system like that. Oh, that'd be amazing. Oh, my gosh, that'd be awesome. Gonna make one more attempt. I would if it comes to where I live. Yeah, pretty much. That's just unfortunately kind of where we're at, because I was lucky that this last convention was kind of the maximum that I really like to drive for an event sort of thing, which is about an hour and a half for the Comic-Con, which is pretty much about the same distance I actually drove to see Shin Godzilla in theaters, because that was the nearest theater we had that was showing it back in 2016. Instruments of Destruction in the theater. Oh man, I'm going to be showing in Ames. That would be nice. I wouldn't mind Ames. Ames would be doable. But I think for Iron Lung, which was previously the last thing that I had taken Mrs. Stegman out to see, I think that was only about a 45 minute drive for a specialty showing, which that isn't terrible at all. Honestly, just compared to most things I kind of have to do to enjoy special showings and events in my life. Like, I can live with 90 minutes to 45 minutes. That's not a big deal. It's when it starts to get nuts that I'm just like, no, not doing it. Because to my shock, like, I wanted to see Return of the Jedi the last time that it had a revival here 3 years ago for the 40th anniversary. And I was like, okay, yeah, cool. Disney's putting the classic trilogy back in theaters, and Return of the Jedi is going to be out in theaters. I'll be able to finally see it because I have seen every Star Wars movie in theaters except for Return of the Jedi. Nope. It was practically on the opposite side of the state. I'm happy for you, Coke. I am happy that you got to see it. But for us, I think it would have been something like a 3-hour drive. Like, it was not even in the capital city. It was on the edge of the state. In some rinky-dink little town. Well, not rinky-dink, but it was in some town I'd never heard of. And I'm just like, you've got to be kidding me. Why? Hi, Sonic. Thank you. I've been struggling here for some reason because I'm not entirely happy with the water effects. But it's trial and error. It's like Mr. Ross always said, there are no mistakes in art, just happy accidents, and then you just go from there. But no, 3 hours or so to see a movie was way out of the question. So that was not going to happen. Oh, okay, it was Dubuque. Never mind. I have heard of Dubuque. Yeah, it was way too far. Way too far. That's just nonsense. Oh, it's okay. I thank you for coming in, man. It is absolutely and always appreciated. I almost didn't make it. I was trying to find the picture, trying to remember where I left it in my folders, and I couldn't find it. So for a minute I was convinced I was going to have to do something else. But at the last minute I looked in the right folder, and boom bada boom, bang la bang, here we go. I found it. I could finish it, and I didn't have to... Oh, I need to save. Holy crap. I have not saved this picture in an hour and a half. There we go. Was it right on that? Oh, my brain. Oof, excuse me. I just had a little bit of a... guessing it is the heat. Must be the computer. I actually haven't been used to having a tower next to me during summer time in a long while. So I'm honestly wondering if it's kind of roasting my space here. But I figured you guys... Was I right on that? Oh, no, I think you were right on that. I think you were absolutely right on that. I think that's exactly where it was, and that's why we didn't go. Because it's like, screw that noise. I love Return of the Jedi. Like, Return of the Jedi is actually my favorite Star Wars movie, but I'm not driving 3 hours to see it. Not unless it was the last showing ever in the history of mankind, and I'd never get to watch it again. Oh. Because, yeah, we went a decent... Like, I've gone long distance to see movies, but only if it was already on the plan. Because my dad, in the past... Okay, maybe the longest I ever drove to see one movie was because of my dad. And that was during... I call it the bonding summer. Just when we had a lot going on in life and things were tough, and he was trying to do more with me and spend more time with me. So he actually drove us. Return of the Jedi was my favorite as a kid. Seeing Luke as the proper Jedi and the redemption of Vader all stuck with me as a kid. Yeah, no, that's why it's my favorite, because I love Master Luke. And I'm a little biased, but I love green as his lightsaber color. But that was my favorite as well, because I loved seeing Luke in his prime. Which, may have contributed to why I didn't like certain other later movies. But just that was the whole thing for me. And the redemption arc, and just how far the technology had come with the storytelling. It was a good movie. Not the strongest of the franchise, but it's a great movie. But shoot, what was I saying? Oh, yeah, the long distance movie. My dad drove us across state lines. Probably was like a 3.5-4 hour drive, I want to guess, to go to, get this, a zoo, because that zoo had a gigantic IMAX screen, and we went and watched Spider-Man 2. Which I had already seen by that point, but he thought it would be really cool to see it in an IMAX, which he was right. It was an experience, and it was very enjoyable to see it. But that was a haul for one movie, and especially for one I'd already watched. That was a heck of a haul. I mean, my gosh, that was something else. But it was memorable. I'll give him that. It was memorable. It's like, clearly, Dr. Octopus is works very well on an IMAX screen, I will say. When Venom 2 was still in theaters, my dad wanted to see it with me in theaters in Vegas, but that never happened because I missed my flight at the layover. Oh, no! Bogus! Oh, that sucks. I mean, then again, look, I'm sure you would have had a good time. Venom 2 maybe wouldn't have been the movie I would have wanted to get on a flight to go see, even with a family member. But I'm sure it would have still been fun, a fun experience to do with Pops, regardless of the distance. But yeah, that just sucks. I think I'm almost about ready to call it quits on this one. I know I keep saying that, but I am an annoying perfectionist, and I just want to make sure that it looks like how I want it to look. And bear in mind, this is literally supposed to be the moment when he's getting blasted with radiation. So, well, by the time I booked another flight, it was too late to see it. Yeah, that sucks. It sucks when airports, when flights just screw you over nonsense. Especially if it's somebody else's fault, like somebody's having a mental breakdown on a flight, and you're just like, oh, come on, don't do this. I've got somewhere important to be. Just, I've seen those videos. I've seen the pain. Alright, you know what? Before I end up overdoing this to death, I'm just going to go ahead and call it here. Put the Siggy down here. Go. And I'm going to flatten the frame, and I'm going to save this sucker. Alright. I'm going to call that one. I think that'll do for the card. And when I get it properly put into its frame and all of the extra stuff done on it to make it a trading card in a trading card format, I'll post it on my DeviantArt and all my usual socials and whatever, but I just felt obligated to fix this one up because, like I said before, the last version wasn't entirely screen accurate, and I'm a little bit of a picky boy when it comes to that kind of stuff. I do, however, have some inked line art versions of a couple other cards that I was working on ready to show. There are going to be others in this series, but this was one of them. This is little Destroy All Monsters action, because the card series is meant to be showing the entire breadth of the franchise and even weird permutations or weird installments of the franchise. But this was always a scene I liked in Destroy All Monsters because I loved how... Oh, thank you. I always liked how, or any time they focused on Rodan, that was just something that was special to me, because he is one of my top favorite kaiju. So, the Super X was the hard part, because, not the Super X, what is wrong with me? The SY-3, the ship, that was the hard part. Excuse me. Because I am not great with machines. I am not great with ships. So I actually looked up a online 3D model of this ship. Not the ads again. I'll just yappy, I suppose. But, ads. Suck it to me, baby. Yeah, the SY-3. I'm not good with ships. Not good with mech. Machines are my weakness. So I just actually looked up a 3D model. I just looked up a 3D model of the ship online that you could actually turn in 360 degrees every which way, and just picked the pose and eyeballed the pose. I did not trace it, I eyeballed it, but I suck at ships, So I just decided, yeah, just that's for the best, and it turned out okay. And then the other one I've got is a scene from Singular Point, which is a show I like. I don't love it, but the parts I like a lot. And again, I just realized, yeah, it's another Rodan, come to think of it. But this was a part that I thought was kind of funny, because it was a very short fight, but just one of the early Godzilla forms blowing a smoke ring, which, you know, there's an infamous character in Godzilla media who was famous for blowing smoke rings or fire rings, which just amused me that they managed to find a way to sneak that into the show. But these will be future projects, future cards, and yeah, I'm very excited to just get back to work on art, because I missed it, and especially when you're going through a rough patch, when you're dealing with life's inevitabilities and having to juggle things and juggle responsibilities. It's just it's nice to have something comfortable to slip back into. And art was always my escape anyway. It was always my safe little bubble. And I think it's a good way to let out your stress and let out your frustration with life, rather than doing the beer or the drugs or the other stupid things. Because I don't drink. Okay, caveat. I buy a bottle of schnapps maybe twice a year, because when I was a bit younger, one of my old bosses got me addicted to a Jolly Green Giant, which is essentially when you just mix Mountain Dew and green apple schnapps together. It makes this radioactive green alcohol. So maybe a few times a year I'll buy a bottle of schnapps and enjoy a little bit of a Jolly Green Giant. But beyond that, I don't drink. I have never smoked a day in my life. I've never tried beer. I don't like the smell of beer, so I can't imagine I would like it. And you just gave me a drink idea. Oh no. What did I do? I'm not trying to encourage alcoholism, but if you come up with something funny, I'm happy to hear it. Yes, I get horrendously drunk, and then I beat Miss Stego thoroughly. That's not true. I'm a giggly drunk. I've never even been, like, smashed drunk to the point where I don't remember things. Like, I've never been that drunk. I get giggly, goofy, and tired. That is the kind of drunk I get. But even then, again, it's very few and far between. And I refuse to vape, because I don't care what people have told me. I just don't think it's something I will ever feel the need to do. So I'm pretty vanilla. My greatest addiction will forever be caffeine. Unfortunate, but at the time of day I wake up, it's just unfortunately kind of a necessity sometimes. I stopped drinking alcohol because I can't hold my liquor after the third beer. Uh-oh. Are you that guy that's always in the body cam videos? She's like, no, officer, I only had 2 drinks. I swear it was only 2 drinks. Turns out it was 6. But, yeah. And just because we do have a little bit of time, how'd you know? I don't know. I mean, I figure after all of your Sakura-ko treats and whatever, you have to have something to wash it down, so you probably smash back a bunch of sake at the same time. just you know, gotta make it culturally authentic. Have some delicious Japanese treats, and then you wash it down with a really nice sweet sake. Alright. Since I've got a little bit of time before we close out stream, I actually do want to definitely. Look, Jobby the Hong drinks like a fish, and somehow he manages to survive. I think you're good. I think you can handle it. But nah. I am going to do a little extra doodly-doo because I've got some time, and far be it for me to be a strict nothing but kaiju art channel. It is my passion. It is what I love the most. But I did mention the last time that I would like to just do a little bit of extra doodly-doo here. And honestly, just practice my... Why isn't that showing up? See, this is why I need the practice. Because unfortunately, I am not very well versed with Clip Studio yet. There we go. I think I got my brush density back. Draw ponies. I think you have drawn enough ponies between the both of us to last us a millennium. And granted, you were paid to do that, but I'm just saying. But one thing that I have been getting back to work on a little bit is my big fantasy story that I've been wanting to get rolling on for a long time. Just a big graphic novel. And getting the preliminary work done. And that has been nice, but it's going way too slow. So I figure maybe if I just... maybe if I doodle one of the primary characters a little bit, maybe that'll help spur me on to actually getting some things done. And art practice is always good. Never turn down an opportunity to get in a little practice. But while I do, I wanted to mention for those of you who are also ancient of years or who just happen to love classic media, today was kind of an interesting one on my drive home. I was just thinking about movie music, and I happened on a video on YouTube which was discussing at great length the masterful perfection that is John Williams' Jurassic Park score, and just how it conveys everything it needs to convey in the proper time, in the proper manner, and is just such a case study, as it were, of what amazing movie music is. And it just made me think it reminded me in my very, very biased way, and I know I'm going to be biased, but I will listen to dissenting opinion, but I will firmly stand on a hill that the greatest decade of movie music we ever had so far, you know, I can't speak for all time, but the overall greatest decade of movie music we ever had was the 90s. And I will back that up with evidence because, like, there's a lot of great iconic scores. Many, many great iconic scores. Star Wars was the 70s and the 80s, obviously. Superman was the 70s, etc. There's a lot of amazing soundtracks that came out in previous decades and in subsequent decades. Because, technically speaking, The Lord of the Rings is a 2000s franchise, and that has some of the greatest music ever put to cinema. But, my gosh, the raw consistency of unbelievable quality movie music just exploded in the 90s. Phantom Menace was from 1999, so it counts. Hey, you're not wrong. Pirates of the Caribbean was all 2000s. I will give you that too. Pirates of the Caribbean is a very strong contender in the 2000s catalog. Did you finish the bubbles? Bubbles! 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 I finished the bubbles to the best of my satisfaction. I think they will do. Like, again, I'm learning this program, and it's not quite up to my own mental standard, but then again, most of my art just isn't. Because, for example, I don't like this nose, so I'm going to erase this nose real quick and start over. But, like, just as a set of examples, because I said I would provide some proof. The 90s brought us, like, even in movies that people don't necessarily think about or talk about as much anymore, sometimes, even if the movie has faded out of public consciousness, the soundtrack is still known or still survives. You have no idea how many trailers there were in the late 90s and early 2000s that had the music for had the music to Rudy, the football movie that starred Sean Astin, because it had this amazing triumphant trumpet part of the score that a lot of trailers used to kind of make the trailer more exciting and to make it rousing and all that stuff. Braveheart had an incredible, emotional, sweeping score. The Rocketeer had an incredible score, and I know those are both James Horner, but obviously I have a little bit of a bias towards the man. He was a friggin' genius. Dragonheart. Like, Dragonheart is not an all-time great movie. It's a fun movie. It's a fun time capsule movie. It's not a great film. But the soundtrack is gorgeous. And that was the thing. Even B movies or kind of lame movies out of the 90s had some of the most unbelievably good music. Like, Hunchback of Notre Dame, man. I mean, 90s Disney music tended to be pretty peak for the most part anyway, but Hunchback was on a level. Star Trek First Contact is my second favorite movie score ever. I adore that main theme so much. But like, even bad movies or movies that were just kind of meh still had great music, because there was just this strange kind of optimism, like this majestic optimism that a lot of movie scores tried to have in the 90s. And again, it's not exclusive, but I think the best of the best came out of the 90s. Like, another one that I really, really liked. The movie isn't all that good, but at least in my opinion. But there was a Disney movie called Tall Tale. It was about American legend figures like Paul Bunyan and Pecos Bill, like some of those characters. And the movie is very mid. It's not all that good. The score is beautiful. It's got this incredible, rousing Americana kind of theme to it. And it's just gorgeous. Like, I don't care about the movie. I'll never watch the movie again. I don't care about it. But the score I keep on my phone in my collection because I just love the music. Probably for soundtracks. The original Stargate movie wasn't perfect, but the music was peak. I need to see the original Stargate. I have actually never watched it. But thank you for reminding me of David Arnold, because I believe that was the guy who did the music for Stargate, because he also did it was Emmerich. It was Roland and Emmerich. And, of course, they did Independence Day and the 1998 Godzilla movie. The music for Independence Day was great, too. Like, it had an incredible, uplifting, super great theme. A lot of people may think 80s because it was technically 90s. Batman Returns, amazing. Batman Returns score is some of Elfman's peak. And he'll say so. Like, he talks about how that was one of his favorite scores that he ever did, because he really got to explore the kind of music he wanted to. Just that dark, edgy, gothic, creepy kind of stuff that still had really good theme and feel to it. Armageddon had a good soundtrack too. Yeah. Prince of Egypt. Oh, Prince of Egypt's music was divine. No pun intended. But no, I love Prince of Egypt. And yeah, like, a lot of these we're talking about are from particular composers who are still working to this day. Those who haven't passed, because sadly we lost James Horner when he died in a plane crash, unfortunately. But Hans Zimmer is still working, and he did Prince of Egypt and The Lion King and all of that stuff back in the day. John Williams is retired, but he set a gold standard for so much. Air Force One. That was a movie I went into. That's a 90s movie that I went into knowing nothing about, not knowing anything, whether I was going to like it or not. And the movie was fun, but again, I loved the music. Because I have a playlist on my phone that I call, I have playlists that I create essentially for specific projects I'm working on. So the picture I'm doing right now, she's a character from the primary fantasy graphic novel that I eventually want to get going on and I want to get rolling with and complete. And I have a whole playlist of movie music that I cultivated specifically to listen to while I am working on this story. Because while I'm working on the story, I like to imagine what it would sound like if it was a movie, if it was real, if it was on a big screen. What would it sound like? What kind of movie music did I enjoy the best that would just kind of evoke the emotion and the feelings that I would also hope would be present if my silly little comic books ever got made into a feature film. And so yeah, there's just tons and tons and tons of stuff, most of which we've already mentioned. And there's a lot of 80s stuff as well. Like, again, the movie's not great, at least in my opinion, but I have the soundtrack for Krull, like the old 80s sci-fi fantasy, that weird one, Krull. It had an exciting soundtrack that I really enjoyed, so that's on my art playlist. And I listen to those all the time when I'm working on projects because I want them to... The music drives my feelings about scenes and about how I make pictures. And it's such a great... Music is such a powerful aid in the creative process, or just the emotional process. We haven't even mentioned the Heisei, Godzilla, and Gamer soundtracks. Yeah, I mean, no, that's fair, because even... What was it? Godzilla vs. Mothra, I think, in 92, it won Best Soundtrack in Japan because that soundtrack was so good. And what's funny is, like, even though most of the themes that Ifukube used in those movies were just recycled from older Showa era movies, he recycled them very well. It's like the Mechanicong theme and the Gargantua themes and just all the stuff that he recycled it in a very fresh manner for those movies. One can't go wrong with Vince DiCola. He did Rocky IV and the OG Transformers movie. Interesting. Okay. I don't recognize the name off the top, but I do know those films' scores, so I might actually have to look into more of his stuff. Because yeah, I'm always on the lookout for something good that I can add to the mix that will inspire, just add to what I need in my playlist for inspiration. So yeah, by all means, I am always happy to do a little treasure hunting and explore. But yeah, just again, I know it's subjective, it's completely subjective, but I die on the hill that the 90s had the absolute peak, with some exceptions, because obviously there's always going to be outliers, but like the most consistent peak of movie music. Because yeah, there's things that came out of the 80s that are among the greatest pieces of movie music I have ever heard, beyond the obvious John Williams stuff. Just, we had the original Land Before Time, which is, for it being a children's movie, quote unquote, it has one of the most gorgeous, nuanced scores I have ever heard in a soundtrack. Just unbelievably gorgeous music. And a ton of others that I can't think of off the top of my head, because when you're trying to think of something, inevitably is the moment when you forget everything. I cannot overstate the importance of music to everything that I work on and everything that I do with artistic endeavors and writing and stuff of that sort, because it sets a soundtrack and a mood, and it just helps me to work. It gets the juice flowing. Hey, Snapshot Tiger, welcome. Thank you for joining in. Dakota seems for Unicron perfectly tells people what kind of villain Unicron is without words. Yeah, and that was part of what the video I was enjoying earlier today about the Jurassic Park soundtrack was doing, primarily just talking about the two main themes of those films. Happy to hear, happy to see another Tokyo fan. Hey, thank you for also being a Toku fan and being here. Like I said, I'm excited to be getting back on the art. It's been too long. There's been too much crap happening in real life that I haven't been able to get back to my first love, which is the kaiju art. So I am grateful for anybody who wants to actually listen to a dumb dinosaur yap and just encourage me on in the artwork, because God knows I need encouragement at all times. But, oh, no, my scatterbrain, what was I saying? Oh, the Jurassic Park music. But just in dissecting the two main Jurassic Park themes, what made 90s music and Williams to me so particularly brilliant was just the fact that, yeah, you're informing the audience and you're telling story through the emotion of the music, so that way you don't have to over-explain the rest of it. Because with the two main themes, dun 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 dun, and the da 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 da, with both of those themes, the emotion tied into the music tells you everything you need to know. Because with the first theme, it's telling you, oh wow, we're excited, we're a little anxious, we're getting onto the island for the first time. It's it's evoking those feelings very transparently, and it helps the filmmaker because it makes their job easier. They don't have to overextend the script or the dialogue to explain things to you when the music can do it for you. And that's what the best music does. It sets vibe and mood and emotion, and that's why I think my whatever I call it, my inspiration playlist for art and writing and such, I probably have, depending on the list, because I've made multiple, probably anywhere between 500 and 1,000 songs, just depending on what I'm doing. Why is that not staying in place? Sorry, tablet's screwing up again. It's getting yellow there because it kept dragging the cursor to the wrong place. God dang it, I did it again. But it's a challenge in writing when you don't have music, is having to be concise with emotions. And with art, and working all these years in my amateur capacity as a comic book writer and artist, it's very difficult to know when to pull back, to not say too much and to not belabor the dialogue, and to let the looks and the feelings of characters speak for you. I know I've been guilty in the past of doing too much with dialogue, and that's just part of the learning process. But man, what I would love more than anything to have the chance to just make one movie, just one feature. And I do feel it would be this one I'm developing here, because I've been working on it in the background for years. It's gone through a lot of iterations and a lot of pain, just struggling with it, realizing it's not always very good, not always perfect, needs to be refined, and that's what you should do with your writing, with any craft, with anything you're passionate about. Is you're not done with it until you are happy with it. whatever you're working on, you don't hinder yourself, and you don't shoot yourself in the foot and be like, it's not going to be any good. I don't want to work on this. No, don't do that. You're denying the world something. You're denying the world something good. So don't abandon it unless you absolutely must, but absolutely let yourself be happy with it. Be satisfied, because we are always our own worst critics. We are always our own harshest critics, and that's usually a good thing, because it means if we are happy with it, and if it brings us to a point of contentment, that usually means your audience will be pretty happy with it too. And that's true of a lot of things. Books, writing, claycraft, television, movies, music, architecture, I don't know, anything where you are dealing with the expressive and the creative. Make yourself happy with it. Like, bravely forge ahead, be happy with it, but don't yeah. If you're not happy, nobody's gonna be happy. I'll stop belaboring the point. That's all. But anyway, that's about. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Be happy with your work. Be satisfied. Because seriously, like, if you are passionate about something, other people will see it. Other people will understand. Hey, this had work. Like, even if it's not incredibly refined, even if it's not the greatest looking comic or the best written American or whatever book classic of all time, whatever else, just if you are enthusiastic about it, please don't abandon it, because that passion for it will translate into enjoyment for someone. And it might translate into something meaningful to someone. Because I was stunned. I was surprised, so surprised, how much very positive and kind feedback I got over the 6 years that I was working on my Stegosaur Girl comic. Because I'm like, this is silly. This is a nonsense story. It's a dumb little thing. It's a fantasy. You know, a girl who gets turned into a stegosaur. Oh, derp-a-dur, yeah, real cute, real original. Like, somebody gets turned into something and they have to deal with life and, you know, find where they belong in the world and deal with their relationships and all that, whatever. Like, so original, you know? But I was just incredibly satisfied and happy at how many people, at the end of the day, did come through in the comments and elsewhere and just say, hey, this was fun. This was a good journey. I appreciated you sharing this with me. It did speak to me. It was clear what you were trying to say. You had something to say. You actually had something to say here. And it was obviously important to you, and that can matter. And it does matter to somebody. So, because I know we have some other writers and some other comic book artists in here. Looking at you, Sonic. Among potentially others. I'm sorry if I'm forgetting things or whatnot, but, you know, just nurturing our creative minds and being there for each other, I just find very necessary and very important. Because, you know, as it stands at this time in my life, I don't have any youngins of my own, and if you've never seen it, there's an old Christmas movie, it sounds silly, but it's called Santa Claus the Movie. It's from the 80s, and they have a scene where Santa is essentially being inaugurated as Santa Claus by the Grand Elf, or whatever he was, played by Burgess Meredith, of all people. And they say to him, because you have a good heart, but you were never able to have a child of your own, we're giving you this gift to give to the children of the entire world whatever, you know, just you'll have an influence even if you didn't think you ever would. And at this time in my life, that's just kind of how I feel. It's like what I want to do. I don't have kids of my own to share things with and to sort of mentor or to just encourage. I guess encourage is the word I prefer. Just be like, you know, to any of my fellow artists and creatives out there, just do not give up on your work. Don't believe it to be inconsequential. Don't believe that your hobbies that you enjoy are inconsequential. Even if it's something as silly as tokusatsu and kaiju and fantasy and all that ballpark of things, because if it speaks to you and you are a creative mind, the best stories are, in my opinion, always the ones that came from a place of inspiration of stuff that you love. Because nothing is created in a vacuum. Nothing is just made out of nowhere. This right here, this character is a combination of many different ideas and story elements and characters from other things that I have loved in my life, and they're all just mushed together into my own vision. Because I told a friend this a week or two ago, but the species name of this particular character, I call them the Goffren. Does it mean anything? No. But you know what it actually is? Well, one of my favorite movies involves a father and a son on a road trip, and they are goofs. That's it. That's all. That's all it needed to be, was just something in the ballpark. And I changed it up, and I made it a little different. And you'll notice she's kind of a dog person. She's got I mean, when it's colored in, it's not colored, but she has her sort of brownish, armored dog nose, right? And little elf ears and whatever. That's all stuff from influences, but little dog nose, and the name is from Goofs. That's all you need, is just a little kickoff of inspiration, and then it becomes its own thing. That's the creative process. You take things you love, and you make them unique. Unique to you, unique to your own spirit, your own experience, and hopefully along the way, somebody will also like the thing you're creating. So, that's all. I just encourage anybody, no matter what area you are enthusiastic about, no matter what creative outlet, no matter what you enjoy, just embrace it. Just please, for the love of God, embrace it and let it inspire you, and think about it and think about things that you love and let them motivate stuff that you do and your own creative endeavors. And I know they have, again, with some of the people here. As I mentioned the last time, Mr. Sonic All the Way has a fantastic Godzilla fan comic that he has been laboring on for a long time, and it's good. And I mean, is it as refined looking as something that IDW is putting out? Technically, no, and that's okay. He is on a journey he is on an art journey. He is refining his craft, and it still looks good, and it still clearly is made with passion, and that's what matters. Because I don't like looking at my old stuff because I know how long of a journey I went on, but I'm happy with where I am now. I'm very happy with where I am. I still need refinement. You never stop learning, and you never stop developing. That's life. But I am happy with where I am now. And I just want to encourage everybody who does do such things and who engages in such creative activity to not give up. Don't be discouraged by this generation of people churning out AI stuff and being like, look at me, I made something. And I'm like, well, you generated something, but that's not the same thing. Happier is the person, I believe, who through pain and trial and error and effort, real effort, learns that they have a hidden ability and a hidden skill and talent within them that they never understood they had. That's key to me. That's important. I will never use AI on anything. I played with it a couple of times just for the fun of it, but I will never make a thing for this Twitch channel, for my DeviantArt page, for any of the stories or the artwork I do. It will never be AI. It will be the effort of my mind and the effort of my heart, and that's all it's ever going to be. So, I'll get off my soapbox, but at any rate, thank you, everybody who joined in. Thank you, the first-timers. Thank you, the coming backers. That sounds weird. I'm not going to say that again. Thank you for those who returned. I appreciate you greatly. As always, it is a thrill to try and make people laugh, because no matter what your heartache might have been, while laughing for a few seconds, you've forgotten about it. And I personally believe that we were all put here for a purpose, to build and not to destroy. And if someday you're not feeling well and you remember some silly little thing I said or did, and it brings a smile to your face or a chuckle to your heart, then my purpose as your clown has been fulfilled, and I am absolutely okay with that label. So, thank you guys. You are awesome. I look forward to seeing some of you in the flesh soon. Good night to you wonderful nerdy people. And, cheers. Gotcha, Bagoose.